Okay. Welcome everybody to F4S Digital, where we have Masters of Business, or mistresses in this case, come along and speak to us about topics about their career, the skills and jobs. We have Laura Johnstone with us, and also we're just being joined by Gerry Ogilvie. Hello Gerry, nice to meet you.
Hi there, hello, how are you?
Hello. Hi. So welcome to everybody who's joining us live. My name is Alison McEwan. I am an engagement manager for Founders for Scotland. Founders for Scotland, our aim is to try and connect business people with education and young people, so that young people have a better idea of what the world of work is all about, what skills are involved, what jobs are out there, and how you get those jobs. So hopefully today will be helpful in that situation. We are going to be talking about soft skills today, which are very, very important. Little bit of housekeeping first to the audience. Your audio, video and chat functions have been switched off. That's just for safeguarding purposes, but you can ask questions. In fact, we would love you to ask questions. If you would like to, there is an anonymise button on the question, so you don't have to give your name if you would prefer not to. But other than that, just sit back and we'll get started with the webinar. So like I said, we have Laura and Gerry with us. First of all, thank you very much for joining us on what is an absolutely beautiful day. We do appreciate it. I think what we'll maybe start with is if you tell us what it is you do for a living, and the companies you work for, because I have to say you both have very interesting and fun sounding company names, and maybe just a sentence or two about what that company does before we start, so people can understand a bit better what your role is. So maybe if we start with you, Laura.
Sure. I missed, I think, half of what you said, but I think I picked up enough to know what I have to say. So my name's Laura Johnstone and I'm the National Manager for Scotland at the Brilliant Club. The Brilliant Club is a UK-wide widening access charity, which is trying to support young people to enter highly selective universities across the UK by matching their schools up with researchers who share their kind of cutting edge research with school pupils.
Okay. And Gerry?
Thanks. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, I run a social enterprise and we're called the Fun Gang. So we provide children's events and parties, and we create and publish children's books for schools and for disadvantaged kids. You know, children that normally never get books and kids that normally never get to a party in their life. So that has a big impact on their well-being and their mental health. So, you know, we're quite, we get funded for a lot of the things. And also at the moment, we're doing a lot of shows online. So all our live shows are postponed. So we do a lot of kids' parties and shows in hospitals. So kids that are stuck in hospital and people can't even come and visit them, you know, we're able to provide stuff for them online.
Okay. Well, they both sound incredibly interesting. What's very nice about both of you is you work quite closely with young people, and sometimes disadvantaged young people who don't necessarily have as good a network around about them that can help them understand things like soft skills and how important they are to bird work. So I've mentioned it a few times. We're here to talk about soft skills. How would you describe what soft skills are to young people? We'll maybe start with you, Laura, and then you can add on anything you think, Gerry, that she's missed.
Yeah, sure. In terms of, for myself, soft skills I think are mostly related to those kind of interpersonal skills that you have, and the things that you maybe don't often associate as being a trait that would be necessarily looked for by employers, but they really are valuable. So it's things that are really to do with your way of thinking, how you as a person kind of interact with the world, and how you really manage yourself and what you do with your time, really.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Gerry?
Yeah, I think a lot of soft skills, as opposed to hard skills, that's another subject, but you know, things like listening and leadership and writing skills, you know, those are basic qualities a lot of employers might expect, but not everyone has a good ability to have those. The ability to make decisions, listening, and a sense of humour. That's also quite an important soft skill.
Okay, so what I'd like to just get from both of you is an understanding of where you personally feel as though soft skills have been very important to your career. So it could be like a very general thing, or maybe a very specific situation, just something that can help young people get in their mind exactly how that works in the real world. Maybe if we start with you, Gerry, this time around.
Yeah, I think that, I used to work in children's TV, when I first began. So, to appear in TV in perform and sing songs, I think personality was a big factor in the ability to work as a team. And I think that would apply anywhere, even if you were in a football team. There's often the players that don't fit in to a football team are the ones that are first to literally get kicked out. They're looking for team players is a very important factor. So I would say that's quite a high requisite for that people would be looking for.
Okay. And Laura, what about yourself? Are there any specific times where the soft skills have been, without a doubt, vital to your career?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my whole career has been focused around working within universities. So I basically left school, went to university, and then just kept working in university. So although I haven't kind of worked out with that, the skills that I've used as a student in terms of soft skills have also been the things that carried me on well within my career. Predominantly things like teamwork, being able to work well and kind of have those leadership skills, but also those abilities to work with others and cooperate. Have been really useful for me, both within actually studying at university in terms of working with fellow students, but then having to work with other teams within the university to hold open days or to organise projects that maybe brought together different teams, like different more subject specific people, also with like people who organised events and things as well. Other than that as well, I studied law at university, and a big part of that was about that ability to analyse information and really critically think about what's in front of you. And so that was a really useful skill for me, and it's useful within a lot of subjects, but particularly within law, where you have to look at case law, you have to analyse why people came to a decision, what evidence was brought there, and then be able to come to a conclusion yourself as to whether you think that that was right or whether it was fair. Or whether it matched up with particular legislation and things like that as well, was really useful for that course.
Okay. Just as a reminder, if anybody wants to ask questions, then please feel free, but I do have quite a few, so I'll just continue with that. So, has there been an instance in your career where you've realised you don't have maybe the correct soft skill, or maybe you had to improve on something that's considered a soft skill? And what did you do to overcome that? What sort of steps did you take? And maybe start with you, Laura, for that one.
Yeah, sure. One of my things that I have always been very bad at is self-motivation. And that, when you go to university, is something that's a big change from going from school to university and then going on to employment as well, where you're used to really being kind of told what you should do, what your deadline is, and you're kind of almost handheld through sometimes completing projects and things like that. Whereas then when I went to university and I had to really take ownership of that myself and really motivate myself to get things done, I found it really challenging. So something that I had to start looking at to improve that was about like setting goals and setting targets and being really strict with myself in doing those. So start setting kind of short-term, medium-term and long-term targets for the kind of course of the year, but then also being able to reward myself when I actually achieved one of those targets, setting something that was really realistic and I could set a time frame on it, but being able to say that when I get to this certain point, even if it was something like, once I've read that chapter in this book, I'll go and get myself a chocolate biscuit. And I do love biscuits, so that's a very good reward, I think. But it's something that you kind of then get into the habit of doing that. So when you force yourself to kind of set those targets and those goals in the first instance, it can be something that then reflects within just generally how you approach a task and how you approach anything going forward. That's probably my biggest one.
There'll be a lot of people that are with you on that. How about yourself, Gerry? Is there anything that you've identified that you were maybe a bit weaker on and you had to work on?
Yeah, loads of things, all the time. Even since I was 17, you know, I've been self-employed most of my life. So when you're self-employed, you're always having to adapt and adjust and learn new things almost every day. So you always have to be open to realizing that you don't know all the answers, but the answers are out there and you can find them. So you can definitely, you know, if you're willing with an open mind to relearn and keep adjusting, then I think that's, you know, you could be a success. You know, I think being self-employed is a bit like getting a new job every 6 months. You know, whereas some people that are employed, they might be in the same job for 40 years. So once you get that mindset of being self-employed, you don't become scared of the next new path that you might be taking. And
were there any specific things you had to do? Like, was there any training courses you went on, or was there any, you went and read a book, or you went online to an online webinar, anything like that that you did to help you navigate all these new challenges you had, Gerry?
Yeah, I do that every day. When we started our publishing business for children's books, I could, you know, I was always writing children's stories, but I didn't know anything about the book business and how it works. And when I was 18, I used to make records, and you know, I didn't know anything about the music business or how records were made. And really, it's a business, and that's how a lot of people have ended up. They've never made any money out of it, because it's people with the more knowledge than them that's have the ability to you know, make the money. So you have to really be open to, you know, finding out everything you can about what you're going to be involved in, whatever it might be. Even if it was as a market trader, for instance, of a car boot sale, there's people that are really good at that and people that are not good, but it's the ones that can't do it are the ones that never find out how it really works. So you always have to be open to learning and discovering and finding out as much as you can about what you're about to be involved in.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Laura?
No, I think I agree with that as well. It's about that really making sure when you're kind of jumping into something that you don't do it full-heartedly, and that you do make sure you're researching all the options. So I think it's a really important thing to realise that sometimes you have a really good idea, but just because you have a good idea doesn't mean you have the knowledge to back it up, but it doesn't mean you can't acquire that knowledge as well.
Okay, so a bit of confidence there as well. Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the things that we always find with young people is, like you said, they went to school, they were told what to do, they were told how to behave, when to be in places, and then when they go into the world of work, particularly in interviews, or when they're just writing their CVs, they find it difficult to maybe demonstrate some of these skills that employers are looking for. So what sort of advice would you give young people when they're at that stage? Maybe start with you, Laura, particularly since I believe you've done student recruitment as well. So
yeah.
If they're maybe not an employer, but it could be their university or college interviews as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think you're totally right there, that a lot of the time we're all very difficult, and I think as well it's a trait across the board. Even adults struggle with it sometimes in terms of thinking about what skills we really have and what we're really good at. But sometimes it takes just kind of jotting down what subjects are you good at, and then having a think about what skills are contained within that subject. And therefore, so if you are really good at chemistry or biology, for example, you can see that maybe you have quite a logical brain, you're good at analysing data, maybe you're very good at the kind of health and safety and procedural aspect of it. You're really good at following instructions because you can follow how to do an experiment. But it also comes down a lot of the time to our hobbies and interests as well. So like the example Gerry gave before about football, something as simple as being able to, being as part of a football team can show so many skills. If you're the captain, then you've got good leadership skills. If you're just within the team, it's good communication, good teamwork. If you've been playing football since you were like 4 years old, it can show that you've got real dedication. If you play it every morning at every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock or something, that's again the self-motivation. You're managing to get yourself out there, get yourself out of bed. Even when it's raining, you're able to do that. And I think really kind of writing down the things that you are good at in terms of those more tangible things like subjects or hobbies or the things that you're really interested in can then help you digest what are those individual skills. And searching for these things online can be helpful all the time as well. So you can say, what skills does someone who likes chemistry have? And you can find a wealth of information there that you would never necessarily have even thought about.
And obviously, a key part in your job is the performance aspect. And often young people say that they don't really have the confidence when they're going into these situations. So what sort of tips would you give them for presenting themselves out to employers?
I think that it's good for teenagers. I remember, when I was, 15 or 16, it's a great thing is to join either an amateur dramatic club or in schools. There's debating societies. There's all kinds of things nowadays, and I think these are really a big asset to children if they're interested in that, or even if they don't think they're interested, they can gain so much from that type of thing. One of the things that we do, we have a creative writing program for kids from 5 and upwards, because there's 30% of preschool kids that start school, they can't put a simple sentence together or say a few simple words. It's really quite bad in some areas. So we have a creative writing, storytelling, reading. That's the backbone to everything that you're talking about, really, and it can't start too early. And what we have is we encourage children to write their own stories, and we can make their stories into a book, and that's a massive boost for their own self-esteem and for their school as well. So everyone can get involved in that, and it improves without even realizing. It really improves their reading and writing skills, and even their way of thinking and their imagination. All these creative elements can really form the backbone of a successful career.
I actually, now that you say that, I've never thought of that, but writing down your personal story would also be very helpful for that as well, because when you walk into these situations, one of the first questions is often, tell me about yourself. And I've been doing interviews for a very long time now, and I still go, ooh.
Yeah.
So actually that would be a very, very helpful tip. Okay, so one skill that is talked about a lot these days is resilience and how you cope with failure. What advice would you give to young people from experiences you've had on how to deal with that and how to approach that? Because it's never nice, but how do you deal with it? Maybe start with yourself, Gerry. How do you approach that?
Well, I think maybe an unusual way of thinking about it, but I would advise, young people to don't recognise the word failure. I don't think there's any such thing. People make mistakes all the time, and that's the only way, in fact, you would learn anything. Even if you boiled an egg and it was perfect every time, you wouldn't know what to do when it went wrong. So things have to go wrong, and you have to get the mindset of realizing that you can learn through mistakes. So mistakes are actually quite a good thing, as long as they're not maybe too drastic a mistake. But you know, that failure, I just don't recognise that word, and I think people should you know, eliminate that from their way of thinking, you know, because life is an actual learning process, and you know, whenever I've been short of some knowledge, I went back to Edinburgh University for 4 years, and I discovered that half of the class were like over 60. You know, so you know, there's a massive. They've recognised that it's never too late for them to learn. So I would say that kids from nursery school right up till people are 90, you know, it's people are still learning all the time.
Okay. That's quite inspiring to be sitting in a classroom full of 60-year-olds and still wanting to learn at that age. That's very, very inspiring. Laura, what about yourself? How do you advise young people?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo a lot of what Gerry said there as well about not always seeing something as being a failure. I remember reading somewhere about when like the light bulb was invented, it took something like 10,000 attempts, and when they were asked about why did they keep doing it after they failed, it said, well, I didn't fail, I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So it is just kind of, I think, sometimes seeing that failure is part of that learning journey, and if you don't get things wrong, you're never going to figure out how to improve something and make it right. There's always all those cliches as well about things like shoot for the moon. If you fail, you'll land amongst the stars. I think if you always put your kind of biggest effort in, sometimes you're not going to meet that absolute high target that you set for yourself, but the harder you try, the more you're likely to come across a positive outcome, even if that's not quite what it was that you expected in the first place. I think as well, though, it's really important to be kind to yourself, and it's okay to be upset about the fact that you fail or something goes wrong, but and maybe give yourself a chance to kind of wallow a little bit in it and be upset, whether again it's going back to those chocolate biscuits again and saying I've got time to sit here and do a bit of binge watching and eat some biscuits and feel sorry for myself, but acknowledge that as that time to process how you feel about the fact that something's gone wrong, but then really sit there and kind of be realistic and analyse it and how you can find a solution. So maybe asking yourself questions when you finish a piece of work, and is it, did you do better or worse than you thought? Did you take a risk or did you play it safe? Did you ask for feedback? And if so, did you reflect on it? Did you work hard, or could you have worked harder on that? And using those kind of tools as a way to identify how maybe the next time you could get it right or do better.
Yeah. Right. We're getting close-ish to when we need to stop. So I like to ask the business leaders that come on for them to give me their top 5 tips when it comes to something. So I'll just let you process that for 2 seconds. While you're doing that, I'll just tell everybody when our next career webinar is, and then I'll come back to you and hopefully you'll have had time to think up your answers. Okay, so we run career webinars fairly frequently. Our next one is on Monday at 2 p.m. where we will have Dan McGuire. We'll be talking about his career in engineering and how you can get a start on becoming an engineer. So we hope to see you there. Right. I see you both scribbling through. We'll maybe start with you, Laura. What would be your 5 top tips round about soft skills that young people should think about?
I think I've got 4. My first thing would be, as I said, is about kind of setting yourself targets and setting yourself goals to really be able to think about, one, how you can maybe improve your skills, but also just in general, how you approach different situations to really be able to improve things like those self-motivation, your time management. It can help with when presented with an opportunity where you have to work under pressure. So it really covers a lot of the soft skills if you can really picture how you can set yourself targets, and looking at things like different ways to do that. So there's the way of setting SMART targets where you have to think about timeliness, how achievable they are, how measurable, things like that. Look at different strategies for planning those. Another one I have that I like to encourage people to do is try to almost keep a journal of the things that you do and the things you're good at. I've heard it referred to before as a brag book. So it can be something really tiny, or something new that you did one day, or something like that you've accomplished within part of a project. And each time you write that, think about what skills you actually use to get to that point. So it can be, as I say, that you managed to get a good grade in a project. Did that really help because you developed your communication skills, your presentation skills, something like that? My third one would be remembering to think for yourself. I think critical thinking is a really important soft skill, and it's not something that we always develop a lot within school. But a key message for that is just remembering to not just take what other people say to you as gospel, and really thinking about where are those sources, what do you think about it, how did they come up to that decision, and where would you maybe see differently from somebody, even if you're looking at the same data. And my fourth one was just reiterating what I said about resilience in terms of being kind to yourself. It is important to sometimes take a break, take a breath, reevaluate what you want to do if things aren't going your way. And as I say, sometimes wallowing with the chocolate biscuits is a really important step in anything. So yeah, just really being kind to yourself and practicing things like self-care, that we've all heard a lot about just now in this situation as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Laura. What about yourself, Gerry? Your top tips?
Well, I think, first of all, you should always believe in yourself, believe in your own ideas and your own dreams, and try and make them happen. The worst thing that can happen is you reaching the age of 60 or 70 and then saying to yourself, I wonder what would have happened if I had tried that, you know, when I was 18. So you have to believe in your dreams and really go for it. And don't always listen to people that think that you will fail, because you have to remember some people might want you to fail, some people are jealous, some people just don't realise what you know. So believe more in yourself and don't always listen to what other people are telling you. But what you have to do is, the third one is to give it everything. You know, really apply yourself with determination and conflict, and really go for those dreams. And once you've given it everything, then give it a bit more. Also, be on time for things. Don't let people down by being late. I know a lot of school teachers. One of my daughters is a school teacher. The biggest problem they have is people being late, people not being on time, people just turning up in the wrong frame of mind. So you know, be on time, and that's always a good thing to do. And always remember that the biggest person you can let down is yourself. You know, don't let yourself down. Go for all these things, and then you really can make your dreams happen.
And that is a fantastic point to end on there, Gerry. Thank you. You did that on purpose. Thank you very much for that. Okay, well, thank you both for taking part in this. It's very, very helpful to the young people. We will be posting this on our website and our platform, and also on our YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that both of you enjoyed taking part. We hope to see everybody else in future webinars, but please go out and enjoy this beautiful day that we have. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.